Earnestly podcast here, coming to you late night Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. Is it 23rd actually? Make sure of that real quick. Yes, 23rd. This will actually hit your feed on 24th, but whatever. I'm actually recording this mobile, though I'm at home on my mobile, because I don't feel like going into the office right now. I don't feel like going to my studio to record. So I figured I'm lazy. I don't want to edit, so I'm just going to go do this one shot and just put it up immediately. You know what I'm saying? I actually wasn't even going to record tonight, and then I got a second wind. Like, I actually said, yeah, just take a break tonight, and because I haven't recorded since Saturday night. And it's funny, last week, like I said, this podcast is so weird, because you have weeks where I just bang, 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 bang. I get time to record, and I all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I have 4 shows in 1 week, like last week. You know what I'm saying? And then this week, I haven't done nothing since Saturday. And technically, Saturday is technically the last show I did counts as last week's show. So I haven't done a show this week at all. We're not entering Friday tomorrow. You know what I mean? And and I actually was gonna, would record initially, and then I was like, you know what, take a break. I worked hard last week, so let me take a break. And then I don't know. Also, all of a sudden because what I do also especially with these solo pods, I pile up things throughout the week I want to talk about. I mean, I'm sure at some point in the next month or two, maybe sooner than that, maybe down the road, we'll see how I feel. I mean, I do these shows randomly according to when I feel like doing it. Now, I know I used to do, back, a couple years ago, I would do a show every day, almost every day, or at least during the week, 5 days a week. Sorry for my sniffing a little bit. It's a little allergies again. But I wouldn't mind getting back to recording at the pace I did, because I mean, it's easier now because 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, 2 years ago, whatever, I was juggling a couple other shows, at the time for no reason at all, which was stupid, really, looking back in hindsight. Now I've streamlined everything. I have 2 podcasts, really, to be honest with you. I have this show. I have the wrestling podcast I do with my buddies Mike and Joe every Sunday. That's every Sunday night. That's us. It's a separate thing. And then I was having the show with my wife, but we haven't done an episode in a couple months now. And honestly, I'm not even sure we're going to continue doing that show. I don't know. Well, I'll let it sit there, and if we decide to pick it up one day and just do it, we'll just do it. But it hasn't been a priority for us. But yeah, maybe one day I'll get back to the 3-4 times a week, 5 times a week thing, do more on the road like this and more mobile shows. It is harder now to do podcasts at home at the volume I used to do it because I don't have a lot of time anymore. Last year, changed the schedules, and then of course the kids are getting older, so naps are now, when I used to have like a 2-hour gap in the afternoon when Logan, my youngest one, takes a nap, I would typically go in and rock and roll and do a pod. That is no longer guaranteed anymore. He may nap once in a while, but that is a random occurrence, So I've just pretty much dedicated now Thursday nights like tonight to record, whether or not it's a guest or not. Sunday night sometimes I'll get free if I can squeeze in a quick one before I go do the wrestling pod. So I'll double up on Sunday nights. If there's a night my wife's out with her friends, or working late, and I have a chance to squeeze in a pod, I'll do it. What I try to do is I use the nights I'm home. I try to use those nights for guest spots, because I can always record a solo pod on the road. I can always record it on the way to work, come back from work. I can do a random one here and there on mobile from out somewhere and just do a quick 15-minute thing. That's not hard to do. But I try to use the days for the guest spots. So. Anyway, that's just that. Let's see. What have a list here today? Earlier this week, Jemele Hill. I'll say she's in the hot water because it's really, she works for herself pretty much, for the most part. But she had a very divisive tweet that she put out on Monday, basically saying, quote, if basically if saying if you vote for Donald Trump, you are a racist. And then she said also no wiggle room. Now, Jemele Hill is somebody who's very talented. I've enjoyed her work for years. I've been following her for almost 2 decades because she was doing sports writing back in the late 90s or 2000s. You know, I remember watching her early days at ESPN, you know, before she became a huge star. And she was always great. It's just funny that now she's no longer under that umbrella now, and now she's basically, you can say, being herself, being more open to her politics, whatnot. And by the way, I don't have a problem with that necessarily. I personally don't agree that what she says is productive. In fact, I would go ahead and say that's actually counterproductive. I wouldn't do it, like I said. But again, that's me. What she does is her business. Folks, obviously, a lot of people are, have their opinions on it. Some people love it, who hate Trump, love it. People who love Trump, they hate it, and whatnot. And I'll tell you this much. I'm not going to defend her here, but I'll tell you this much. Part of the reason why I think she's doing this too, especially, and this goes back to the early days when social media was still smaller than it is now, and she was on social media. I used to see her mentions, and it was filled with misogyny, sexism, racism. I've seen the N-words around a few times on there. And unfortunately then she couldn't say anything, respond, because, ESPN at the time had, the policy was you couldn't do this and that. And obviously they moved something in recent years, and then, hell broke loose. But the point is, I can understand why she feels the need to let loose. And I think this is the reason why she does this. Because of what she went through for many years on social media, and dealing with people, DMing her or even seeing things in her mentions. I mean, she showed it. I follow her. She follows me and follow her on Facebook, and she's shown people sending, really disgusting things to her on DMs, and so in one hand, I can understand why she's angry, and why she has the freedom to be angry and without no consequence or little consequence. I can see why she's doing that. But me personally, I don't think it's productive. That's just my opinion. That's my bag. It's divisive, my opinion. But her way of dealing with this, with the world at large today, is what I call blitzkrieg. It's plow, 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 and pound, and that's it. Hammer, smash face. I'm a little more of a person like that likes to engage in dialogue. People I disagree with, I like to engage in dialogue with them. And people don't agree with. There's a lot of my friends who, even though we agree on political a lot of things, they don't agree with the way I go about talking to people who are opposite ends of the spectrum politically or just anything in general. That's the way I do things. I can't help it, So, like I said, I wish her the best, of course, Jemele. She's a very smart woman. I enjoy her podcast on Spotify. She's a phenomenal writer, phenomenal talent. I just wish she didn't engage in this, hot take-ish, divisive stuff. She's better than that, in my opinion. But again, given where she's come from and what she went through for years, I can actually respect that and whatnot. So it is what it is. Kanye West went on a big rant on Twitter this week, and I'll tell you, he had the rally last weekend in South Carolina. He made the comments about saying that Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves, whatever. A lot of controversy there. Again, Kanye West is a very polarizing guy. He's technically still running for president. Last episode I said he wasn't doing it. He ended his campaign, but now apparently he's still in the quote unquote in the running for president of the United States. Had a big rant on Twitter on Tuesday, whatever it was. Had another rant yesterday or whatever on Twitter. Kim Kardashian, his wife, came out and talked about him and his mental health, and he's bipolar and whatnot. Personally, I would prefer her keep their issues in the background, personally, because a lot of people are ridiculing them, and honestly, I mean, look, I'm sure there's a lot of narcissism surrounding the whole thing with Kanye, but he needs help. He needs to help, and he needs help in a way where he can't. He needs to keep this stuff in home, in my opinion. And I know Kim. Obviously, stuff she said. I would rather her kept that personal to her because again, I don't know. It's a weird situation. He was talking about how like he was almost aborted by his mom. He's glad he wasn't, and there's a lot of things he was saying on his on there. I guess I find myself just feeling really bad for the guy. I really do. And some things he's saying, you can actually argue that there could be some validity to it. I mean, I wouldn't totally dismiss everything he's saying. There is a lot of demons in Hollywood, I'm sure, and we don't really know about, and he may have more access to that. So we should at least, in some ways, I do respect what he's saying. To some degree, something he's saying, but then he'll say something like Harry Tubman not freeing the slaves, and then he'll say something about like how slaves are choice. Just things of that nature. I just hope and pray he's going to help your needs more than anything else. This is not a game. This is not a game at all. So, let me see here. Oh, this week on social media, my wife and I got into it on Tuesday. And we put on social, we got into an argument at the house this week. Again, this seems to be something we get into the same topic at least once a year. And this week I decided to put on social media. Basically saying that, I basically said that I prefer the Beach Boys over the Beatles. And because of me saying that, she wants to divorce me. Now, I was tongue in cheek, but it got a lot of attention on social media. But where I was surprised more than anything else was the fact that a lot of people actually agreed with me what I was saying. There's a lot of people who don't really prefer the Beatles in that same way, or would prefer the Beach Boys. I was actually kind of shocked. I thought people would have been more come from my head, and there's certainly people out there who come from my head, but a lot of people on social media agreed with me, actually. It was actually a more balanced argument from people on social media. I recognize the Beatles and what they've done. They are the most influential band in history of music. That cannot be overstated. I just prefer the Beach Boys music over the Beatles. That's just my personal opinion. I prefer Queen over both anyway, so I prefer Metallica over all of them. You know what I mean? But it was a fun argument, and my wife, she got really, not offended, but she got really heated about the topic, and she's been tagging me on Instagram and putting Beatles songs in there just to kind of drive the point home, and whatever around her, she's playing Beatles music now in the house a lot more than she does in the car, in the house. If we're in a room together, she'll throw on the Bluetooth speaker and she's just throwing the Beatles just randomly just to piss me off. And it's not really pissing me off, to be honest with you. But it's a fun argument. It's really about who I prefer at the end of the day. You like who you like. That's it. Your ears are what your ears are. I mean, people like the Backstreet Boys more than the Beatles. Whatever, it's their bag. Anyway, so apparently there will be no NFL preseason this year. The owners all voted to forego that, which is a great idea. Honestly, I understand why they do it. It's extra revenue, but given the circumstances now with the virus and whatnot, and honestly, I've never been a fan of preseason anyway. I've been calling it for years. Fake football. It's not necessarily, honestly, in my opinion. I don't think you need it. Hell, you don't do it in college football. Why the hell do you need it in the NFL? I know why they do it. Extra revenue, like I said, but come on. Some teams are not going to allow fans in the stands. I know the Giants and Jets have all agreed not to have no fans in the stands for the time being, indefinitely, until things change. The Atlanta Falcons, however, have said that they are going to probably allow 10 to 20,000 fans per home game. See how that goes. Like I said, I think every city is going to be different. Every city has more cases than others. Like, obviously, Florida's going to be tough to do that. New York's still pretty, a lot of cases are still in New York and whatnot. Atlanta, Georgia, they had a spike, but nowhere near the numbers as Florida and New York. So I guess they can get away with it. And plus, Georgia's governor's not really pushing, as much. I think they did say though. I think there was something that was said about how like if they do have people in the stadiums, they have to wear masks. I don't know. But I'm just guys don't preach this. This is fake football. You don't need that crap. Baseball came back tonight too. Lots of players kneeling for the anthem before the season started, and now tonight too. And I saw Mookie Betts, who just got paid a fucking shitload of money from the Dodgers. Was it 12 years, $350 million? Something that sort of that number. He was kneeling before the anthem. A lot of folks on Twitter pissed off about that, and I get it. It's a divisive issue. It shouldn't be. Like again, like a lot of my friends don't like it, and I respect their opinion. I may disagree with it in a sense because I understand why they're kneeling. I also find kneeling more respectful than sitting. Honestly, I don't know why kneeling's an issue. Like to me, it would be way more offensive if a player was sitting. So you got people on Twitter sitting there saying because NBA is doing the Black Lives Matter on the court, spray on the court in the bubble. The NFL is going to have players kneeling and going to be doing the Black National Anthem allegedly now this season. That people are saying, "Oh, I'm not going to watch NFL or the NBA this year." Baseball now has players kneeling. You're not going to watch baseball too. Once hockey has to do kneeling too, you're going to not watch hockey also. If golf does it too, you can stop watching. I mean, the thing is, it's ridiculous now. Like you're going to deprive yourself of watching sports because you don't agree with a certain sector of people who are protesting something. How about honoring the ones that actually are standing for the anthem anyway? Because not everybody's kneeling for the anthem. You know what I'm saying? Now, I've been saying for years, and I'll say it again. College football does it correctly. The anthem should be for the fans, not for the players. You want to fix this problem, do the anthem, keep it in the locker room. That kills the issue. And then guess what? You want to get pissed off. And I hope people who hate the idea of players kneeling for the flag have that same energy when they're fans in the stands, sitting their fat asses, eating a hot dog during the anthem. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, have that same energy. Personally, college football is correct. Have the players inside the locker room. Boom, there you go. End of discussion. So that's how I feel about the whole thing. I stand for the anthem because that's just how I feel. But again, you can't get mad at NFL football players for doing something that's not even an actual rule. There was never a rule in place. Funny how people piss the NBA, but yet the NBA, the progressive NBA, has made it mandatory to stand for the anthem, and it has been this way for years, since the mid-90s. It's just weird. Hypocrisy is just weird on this topic, But and the thing is, I'm pro-standing. I'm pro-free speech. In other words, I personally will stand. That's what I would do. But unless the actual league had a rule in place, the NFL had a rule in place. Obviously, looks like Major League Baseball has a rule in place either. So there you go. So on the sports radio front, Mike Francesa is allegedly retiring again after tomorrow's show. I remember Francesa actually did retire, ended the show in late 2017, ended up coming back in 2018, later 2018, 6 months later. It might even 6 months, maybe sooner than that. And then he's been doing, for the last year or last half a year, doing his show, half an hour show from 6:30, quick 3-segment show on the fan, WFA on the fan. I guess now with the schedule, with the baseball schedule, obviously it's tightened up now and whatnot. They're gonna they need that time. I guess that time frame. So Francesa, of course, also wants to spend time with his family as well too. He says that he's not necessarily retiring, quote unquote. He's leaving the door open for a return. He's missed the boat on this one. A couple years ago, he had an opportunity to really reinvent himself by embracing the podcast platform by starting his own thing. I remember me and my good friend Matt McQueen were talking about this a couple years ago on the podcast about how this is an opportunity for him to really swerve to another direction and reinvent himself, and he never did that. And it's kind of funny, looking back in hindsight, Mike and the Mad Dog ended in 2008, I think it was, or 2007. No, actually maybe further than that. But anyway, Mike My Dog ended late 2000s. And strange enough, Chris Russo has been able to stay relevant and reinvent himself and adjust with the times. He's one of the most. He is one of the most powerful voices right now in sports radio. You would have thought Francesa would have been the one that would have been able to continue doing that. You would have thought Russo would have been the one, Mad Dog would have been the one that would probably has gotten old because it's the shtick and all that. No, he is still thriving. He's still on satellite radio. He's still involved in baseball, and whatnot. And he has a show. I think it's an Unintentional Walk. I think it was. I'm not sure the exact show, but he's very much involved in media in a way that Francis is not. He's much more active. His face is out there a lot more than Francis is. You would have thought Francesa would have been able to maintain. And granted, Mike Francesa has done well for himself even after Mike and Mad Dog ended. But, it's just that, Russo branched out really more than anything else, and he adapted. Like I said, Francesa should embrace the podcasting realm. Maybe start his own network. Maybe join the Ringer. I don't know. He could really gotten himself into another. He really could reinvent himself. He didn't do that, and I don't know. And then when he came back, and he came back a couple months after he retired in 2017, he did the whole ceremony of weeks upon weeks and months riding down to the show, having these farewell shows and farewell tour he was doing, and then he's back from us later, and people didn't like it. He came back and no one really cared. I mean, the ratings were still solid to some degree, but it was definitely some hurt feelings when he came back, and he definitely came off a little bit disingenuous too, the way he handled everything else too. So, Francesa missed the boat here. He really missed the boat. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes for him. Maybe he'll come back after the virus subsides and stuff. Maybe he'll find another direction to go in. I don't know. Wrestling talk. AEW. And by the way, this is the first time in months I've been caught up with all my wrestling material, weekly material, within 24 hours. This week I watched Raw for the first time in its completion. Granted, it was the edited version on Hulu, which is what I prefer anyway because it takes out all the extra stuff I don't really care for. But this week's the first time I watched Raw in months. Not watching an edited version. I want to say watching the 3-minute recap. And then I watched NXT, and I just realized too. I remembered that NXT also on Hulu was edited down from an hour and a half, from 2 hours to an hour. So I was able to watch that quickly today, and I watched AEW today as well too. So I'm caught up for the first time in months. I'm actually caught up relatively quick with my wrestling content that I had been in months. But the reason why I'm talking about AEW is that AEW has won the ratings war again. The ratings war Wednesdays again this week. I spoke about this a couple weeks ago on the podcast about how there's a 3-week period where NXT was actually in June, won 3 weeks in a row, and AEW started to make Chris Jericho and Tony Khan, the AEW's owner, started getting petty and talk about the demo and the 1849 demo, and that's important. We winning that one and all that. And AEW's ever since then has been doing very well since then. And they're back in control, which is good. And that's the thing. It's ebb and flow. And the numbers were actually good too. I think there were nearly 900,000 viewers this week on AEW. Good show this week too, especially. And by the way, not for nothing, their roster is starting to really shape out pretty well. As I've said, on the wrestling podcast, the only concern I have for AEW right now is the women's division, of course. They started bringing more talent on TV now, put more talent on TV in the last week or two. More women on TV. We'll see if it helps. But their roster's filling out well. They're starting to get a lot of big guys there. A lot of single stars. I'll say again, their tag team division is the best in pro wrestling right now, in my opinion. So, but they've done a good job. They've done a really good job. This last show they just did this week was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Sammy Guevara came back after a month off of suspension, and they've continued to master also the no crowd thing pretty well. Although WWE's actually done better with their shows now, we're doing the same thing, having following AEW's lead and having the plexiglass around and the people roster who are maybe office workers or wrestlers outside the behind the plexiglass to give some noise. Worked out pretty well for the most part. So, but yeah, AEW's do a nice little roll after being petty, So, I guess that's it for now. Oh yeah, and also too, WWE also announced today that SummerSlam officially will not be in Boston this year. Officially, which we all knew. The virus is a big deal right now, man. And I mean, obviously Vince is going to wait till the very, 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 very last minute to announce this stuff, and whatever. So SummerSlam will be again, like everything else, in the Performance Center. So, okay, let me go. Tough doing a podcast with allergies. I had to keep pausing. So, again, on Twitter, EJChristian7, on website, earnestchristian.com, as well as the newsletter, earnestchristian.substack.com as well. Subscribe to the newsletter, of course, too. I'm going to start doing some stuff there in the next week or two. And until then, we'll talk soon. Later. Thank you.